Hello, it's exactly 6 p.m. in New York City, 11 p.m. in Algiers, and midnight in Vienna. Here in Accra, it's 10 p.m. and this is NEWSAT10. We're live from the News Hub at Adisawe, Kanda. We're also streaming live on Facebook and on 3news.com. TV3 is also on your DSTV channel 279. Let me take you through a summary of the day's major news highlights. Meralco Consortium has been designated as the preferred bidder in the management, operation and investment in the electricity distribution business of Electricity Company of Ghana, ECG. The Millennium Development Authority, MEDA, in a statement noted that after international competitive procurement processes and evaluation of proposals received, Manila Electricity Company, Meralco, was determined to have the highest combined technical and financial score. Under immediate powers, Director General of the Social Security and National Insurance Trust, SNIT, Ernest Thompson, says he's unaware of any investigations or audit conducted by PricewaterhouseCoopers, as he was not invited by anybody for such purposes. This was made known in a statement issued by his lawyers. And the Supreme Court has dismissed an application by former Deputy Attorney General Dr. Dominic Ayene seeking to file additional arguments to the case in which he is challenging the eligibility of Martin Amidu for the position of Special Prosecutor. The application, according to the Judge Justice Gabriel Puamang, was not supported by the rules of the court. And the director for the Center for European Studies at the University of Ghana, Professor Ransford Jampo, has cast doubts over government's commitment to the election of metropolitan, municipal and district chief executives. He maintains the current system provides an avenue to reward party loyalists. In business, energy think tank Kites Ghana wants the Auditor General to conduct a forensic audit into all projects funded with oil revenue. According to Kite, only 3 out of some 31 projects sampled were funded by the annual budgetary funds allocated for oil revenue between 2011 and 2016. On the international front, Cuba now has a new president, and for the first time in over 40 years, his last name is not Castro. The international desk profiles Cuba's new president, Miguel Diaz-Canel. Those are our major news highlights. We're live on 3FM 92.7 and around the world. You can follow our live stream on Facebook and on 3news.com. Up next is the big one. Welcome back. Now, the Meralco Consortium has been designated as the preferred bidder in the management, operation and investment in the electricity distribution business of the Electricity Company of Ghana, ECG. The Millennium Development Authority, MEDA, in a statement noted that the international competitive procurement processes and evaluation of the proposals received, Manila Electricity Company, otherwise called Meralco, was determined to have the highest combined technical and financial score. Negotiations, according to MEDA, will soon commence to finalize all the agreements related to the implementation of the ECG PSP transaction. MEDA, according to the statement, says it wishes to assure Ghanaians that it will continue to adhere to and uphold high standards of integrity and transparency throughout the process. Right, Kojopoku is joining me in the studio tonight for a discussion on this. Mr. Kojopoku is an energy consultant. Thanks to have you here. We have been waiting anxiously, and now today we're told that Philippines' largest energy provider, Meralco, is now the preferred bidder. How did this news strike you?
Well, it wasn't a surprise. I mean, in a one-man race, if the one man wins, it doesn't seem to be a surprise.
So there was only one.
Well, there were two
bidding?
companies.
I mean,
there were two
the statement
companies.
said that there were international competitive processes.
Well,
and
there
all
was
of
a
that.
lot of companies that showed interest in the PSP. 6 were pre-qualified, and the 6 that were pre-qualified were Engine, Tata, BXC, EDF, and the the Meralco, which is the Philippine company, Manila. And along the line, a lot of them fell off. By the time that we got to the second bidders conference and the bids where expression of interest were sent out, they were only left with 4 companies. Tata now went off, so it was left with 3 companies: EDF, BXC, and the Manila company.
So, I mean, according to the statement from MIDA, Meralco is now going to be responsible for the management, operation of, and what else?
Basically, all that ECG does, this is except the PPA part of it, which is where they hold the power purchase agreement of, but they will be interested in the engineering, management, and operations.
And technically, I mean, I think that, well, I know that one of the biggest deals for ECG will be investments that this preferred bidder will bring on board. And I'm told that by the statement of MIDA that Meralco had the highest financial score. I mean, being a very prominent energy provider in Manila, I'm told that they control over 22 cities and over 88 municipal areas within the Philippines. Makes them a big player?
Yes, they are. In terms of financially, if you look at even the 6 that were initially pre-qualified, they were the only company that didn't have a consortium. So them, you realize that from day one, they stood on their own as a company. The only thing that we do not know from the MIDA statement is which 51% Ghanaian consortium that is partnering them in the consortium, the 51%, which Ghanaian company partners them. Because we know that with EDF, we had a CH group. In the BXC, the Chinese group, we had other companies that were in there. Manila, all along, we've not known who their Ghanaian partners are. So that will be interesting going forward to know who the 51% Ghanaian shareholders are going to be.
So what are your expectations in the negotiations between the Ghana side and Meralco?
Local content, because the minute that we now have a company like Philippines who are going to run our electricity company, a lot of people are very passionate about what it means that you're going to have a foreign entity run our ECG. I have always said that it's necessary to have competence run it instead of being passionate about it, but we need to have local content. Some of the businesses like cabling and meters and all that should be preferred for local companies to handle.
But this government has promised that to guarantee the jobs of the current crop of the ECG. Obviously, that's the starting point of the local content. Do you have doubts that this could be achieved?
I don't, but the talks is different from when it's actually put in contract and affirmed. Yes, we've been to a lot of conferences and seminars where everybody has talked of local content being for certain areas, the cabling, the meters and stuff like that. Already, we know that I think they are proposing to give the ECG workers some shares also. So going forward, it will be interesting to see what the deal will look like in terms of what will actually go into the agreement. There is a long way to go. But
I know that despite the arrangement and the fact that this is part of this satisfying the processes for the Compact 2 of the MCC's Compact, we know what we want as Ghana. We know what our problems are as the energy provider. So what is in it for us, really? What's expected to change within the period that Meralco takes
service. We expect good customer service. Fluctuations is supposed to stop in terms of voltage that comes through, your systems, the fluctuation, because they are going to replace the obsolete machinery with new machinery. They are going to basically bring in new wiring systems, new transformers, investment that is going to target, and also the losses, which is quite high, technical and financial losses in our ECG distribution system, which is quite high, is supposed to be reduced.
And the stealing, the illegal connections,
which is part of the
which
is part of the losses. So the technical
should we
losses.
Be expecting also that after they have putting in investments, then the cost of energy is going to go high, or
no,
it doesn't work that way?
No, it's not going to work that way. It means that if they are going to put efficiency, let me give you an example. The reason the technical losses is very important. Right now, if you send out 1,000 cities worth of electricity over the ECG lines, 15 to 21% is lost. So it means that about 150 Ghana cities is lost just to the wind. If that is reduced further to about 2% or 3%, it means that the amount recovered.
And how can that be reduced?
By the investment that they make. Maybe better prepaid systems, basically better distribution lines, obsolete machines being taken out and newer ones being brought in, so that the electricity which is going through our lines doesn't dissipate. And
what about
lost.
monitoring? I mean, I know that at the base of this is who is consuming, how much they're consuming. I mean, the billing system is going to tell us how much you're consuming and all of that, but I reckon that there needs to be a physical presence on the ground to get somebody actually monitoring who are tapping in illegally or who are in legally and what they're due to pay.
Investment in smart metering. Okay, investment in smart metering, investment in new technology into ECG's operation, making sure that customers and employees are well paid, well remunerated for them to do the work the way they're supposed to do it. Then the most important part, which if a private company takes over a company, hire and fire. If you're an ECG employee and you don't do your work well, you will be fired. If you give me that you're going to be in my house within 3 hours and you don't show up, I'll report you and you will be sanctioned. Those are the things that Ghanaians can expect when a private company like Manila takes over ECG.
All right, so we'll take a quick reaction from you, but let's just go back to the public utility workers. The General Secretary of the Utility Workers Union, PUWU, Michael Edumata Nyantechi, has stated that there was lack of transparency in the process of announcing a concessionaire. He spoke to Alfred Akante on News 360 earlier on.
Is it a cause for excitement for the selection of Meralco Consortium, or you have concerns?
Oh, well, we don't have any cause of excitement or otherwise. For us, we have always maintained the fact that it's very unfortunate Ghana is going this direction, but that is the decision of the shareholder of the company. But with this announcement of the selection of Meralco as the preferred bidder, the only thing that we will expect that MEDA should come out clearly and let the Ghanaian populace be really aware about the whole process. So far, they have been a little not very transparent. Let me put it bluntly.
Okay, so but Mr. Nwata, I want to find out from you, if you say MEDA should come out with the whole process and you accuse them of not being transparent, how exactly do you mean? Because I assume that you have representation on the board, which should have given you the opportunity to get to know these?
No, unfortunately, we don't. And we even hear to our surprise, which we think that MEDA should be able to confirm or otherwise, that even ECG was not represented on the evaluation panel, and a preferred bidder has been selected. We knew at the time when the EDF France company withdrew, they came out and said that it was left with only 2 bidders. That is BSC Consortium and then the Meralco. As to whether BSC was evaluated and they were found not to be the best in terms of competitive nature of the process, or was BSC disqualified and it was left with only Meralco as the preferred bidder. these are matters that for us as workers, we are a little unclear as to what really is going on, and that is the angle we are talking about, the transparency. So MEDA should clarify these things. We also know that last year, the president announced that, yes, 51% of this new company should be in the hands of Ghanaians.
Yes.
Today, nobody knows who is the Ghanaian partners in consortium with Meralco. As you saw, they only mentioned Meralco Consortium, who are the local Ghanaian partners working with Meralco. The press release also talk about Meralco covering about 1/3 of Philippines in terms of distribution. But then we are getting information. We don't really have all the facts because the MEDA is the one that should be seized with the correct information.
Right.
Is it true that the total network in terms of length of Meralco does not come anywhere near the network length of ECG? So these are things we think that MEDA ought to clarify for the Ghanaian public to
right.
know whether we are indeed going in for a company. Yes, it's true. They may have a number of customers because Philippines has so many big cities and their populations may be good. But what is the length of their network? These are critical issues that we think that Ghanaians ought to know so that we don't end up selling our VIP bars a Kiko or something.
Right, so that's the Public Utilities Workers Union. Mr. Kojopoku, these concerns are expressed and all valid?
Nope, not at all. I mean, how is that valid? The only the concern is what I said earlier, that they should have, we don't know the 51% partner. There was a presidential directive that whoever wins it should have a 51% Ghanaian partner. I'm sure going forward, we will get to know who the 51% Ghanaian partner is. Or if there isn't, we would form, or the business community would form a 51% consortium and partner them. That is not the problem. The issue of ECG not knowing, MEDA is the organization charged with this process. I mean, Mr. Nyantechi and his group has been to court. We've always told them that when they are moving on to the new co, they do not, and they don't want to go forward and they want to exit, they don't get entitlement. They didn't believe, they went to court. We all don't know what has happened to that court process. You know, I think the workers of ECG should jubilate. Because if you are the employee of government, you are worse off than being an employee of a private institution. Yes, we've had lessons in the past where companies has come in and not done well or done what they are supposed to do. So that is why we should all come on board and during this negotiation, make sure that we dot the I's and cross the T's. That is the important part. We have lessons learned. Let's make sure that even if the Meralco people do not have the experience, but they have the money, let's join forces because they are not bringing, let's get something right. They are not bringing Filipinos to come and do the work. They are bringing money for Ghanaians who work at ECG to do the work. So it doesn't matter what they have. If you think that the ECG workers are capable of doing the work, you are the one going to do the work. They are only bringing the money, the investment. Nobody, maybe top management might come from Philippines, yes, but that is top management. The rest of the 6,000 or so workers that are going to do this work, the expertise that you claim that the ECG should be given to you to run, this is the time to stand up.
There's the time to have an opportunity to
exactly.
show what you
to
have.
show what
right,
you have with the right money, which is going to be invested in ECG. So I don't get all these concerns where it's coming from.
Mr. Poku, we're grateful for your time. Kojopoku is an energy expert. I'm Stephen Enti. You're still watching and listening to News at 10 live from our news hub at Adisawe Kanda in Accra. That's it for the big one. We'll be right back with more news. Abednego Tete Mensah, lawyer for the embattled former director of CEO of SNIT, has indicated his client, Ernest Thompson, was not aware of any auditing of his stewardship at SNIT. He made this assertion on News 360 earlier.
So I want to find out from you, has your client as a former Deputy Director General, did he sign off any of these contracts that led to the escalation or the increase in this particular figure of 74 million we're talking about?
It was not an issue of signing off any contract. You see, contract price escalation per se is not a crime. And we gave reasons why it went up. The contract itself that he came to meet made room for a price variation, made room for change orders. And therefore, whatever he did was done working within the contractual documents. And what we are saying is that, for instance, we gave only 2 examples that could have led to the price escalation. The scope is, which led to the $34 million initially,
right,
made room for 400 cards. You know, the biometric cards that we use to access information in the kiosks.
Absolutely.
The ATM, yes. Meanwhile, SNIT has 3 million plus contributors. So if you provide only 400,000, what about the 2.6 million plus? Would they come to your office and say,
is that the explanation of your client as to what brought about the price escalation we're talking about?
Yes, I gave just 2 examples of what led to the price escalation. Naturally, if you are buying more cars, 2 million plus, automatically the price will go up. The price of the contract sum will go up.
And this particular decision to have an increase was signed off by the board after you did your own assessment that this was a prudent decision to take?
It was not even a question of prudence. It was a question of necessity. We have 3 million plus contributors, and they are all expected to have the cards, the biometric cards, to access information. So if in the contract scoping you have only 400, are you saying you will provide for the 400 and leave out the 2.6 million extra? So what we are saying is that price escalation per se is not criminal. He was the Director General and he has to take those decisions to move the organization forward. For instance, another Director General will say, okay, in the contract we have only 400,000 cards. I've provided for the 400,000 cards. Right. So on daily basis, the 2.6 million, when they come parading at your office, they want cards. What will you do?
Okay.
And that wraps it for News at 10. Thank you very much. Up next is Sports Unlimited. On behalf of the crew here, good night. You can find more news at 3news.com.